So basically, I saw your text. Long story short, we're going to talk about how you kind of made the decision to make some, we'll call it lifestyle changes, and that had a significant impact on your ability to build a better business. And we were talking on Instagram. You reached out after listening to a few or a bunch of the episodes of the podcast, saying how they were really helping you. And I was really glad. I'm glad to know that, because that's why we do the shows, to help guys out like you. But then you mentioned how you made those changes and they had a big impact. And I said, well, we should talk about that on the show, because I think that can help a lot of people. And I guess that lifestyle change that we're talking about is what exactly?
For me, I guess it was, reducing alcohol consumption, which, I identified as kind of a limiting factor for, who I wanted to be, what I was doing, how successful I was. So, I took a hard look at myself and decided that reducing the amount of drinking, partying, whatever you want to call it, was going to, lead to a better version of myself.
So this is a kind of a touchy subject. I guess it's not that touchy when you think about it, but it's because no one talks about it. It feels weird. So
100%. I get it's got a stigma to it.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. You're listening to Hardscape Growth, a podcast for hungry professionals who want to grow their businesses and level up. We're doing kind of a cold open to this one. So welcome to the Hardscape Growth Show this week. My name is Alex from Block, and we're joined by Chad Aiken from Spruce Creek Landscapes. Where are you guys from?
We work in and around the New Hampshire, Maine seacoast. So I live in Elliott, Maine. I spent a lot of time in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Moved to the area about 10 years ago. I went to college in the area. I went to UNH. And kind of find myself back in living here, and dove back into hardscaping, took to it, love it. I think it's a great industry, super fun, like working with my hands, a lot of great people in it. And so started taking it pretty seriously about 4 years ago, started my own business in 2019. And we've been just kind of running with it, and things are starting to line up for us. Feeling pretty good about where we're at.
That's good. And what made you, so we're talking about like quitting alcohol, basically.
Yeah.
And it's something that I guess is becoming more and more popular. If you're on social media a lot, you see a lot of videos and posts and people talking about this stuff, but like really that's not why you did it. You came to some conclusion that it's probably better for you. So why don't you tell us a little bit of that story? Because at the end of the day, and I don't want to get preachy with this with this show. So like that's not the point. The point is really to talk about something that no one ever seems to talk about in our world or in many worlds, and just give a different perspective and maybe open your eyes. And you know what? If this can help one person, then great. If it helps a bunch of people, then fantastic. But at the end of the day, I think that even just your story and what we're going to talk about today, it can help anyone just kind of take a step back and just look at overall the decisions that they're making. And whether it's this topic or it's some other substance or it's just a bad habit that they have that they're trying to break, I think you need to take that perspective. So I'm curious, not curious. I'm excited to hear your story and to share it with all of our listeners. So take it away.
All right. Let's see what we can do. I guess a word that comes to mind when I think about alcohol is that it's insidious. It kind of like creeps up on you, and you think you're having fun. And for me, I was I hate the term alcoholic, but I was a high functioning individual. So from the outside looking in, things seemed to be great. But we were kind of I don't want to say hard partying guys, but bravado and everybody's having some beers after work, and it becomes a daily routine. It's a weekly routine, and then it starts to kind of grind on you, and it slowly creeps into your life and starts to, wear down at, how productive am I being? I'm waking up later. I know I can be doing better here in certain areas. And you kind of have like an inner monologue going on where you're having this internal struggle. And you know that you could eliminate this one thing that's actually, it's a poison that you're putting into your body. And, you start to ask yourself, like, how much fun am I actually having? And alcohol is around you every day, everywhere you look. Every time you get together with your friends, you go to a barbecue, it's just there, and you're expected to drink it. And at some point, I started to say, who can I be without this stuff? And like, why is it expected? And why am I drinking? So, and then one day I just kind of quit for a lot of reasons. And immediately, I mean, it's not easy. Let's just say that right from the bat. But once you get past that, you can find some support. I don't know. There's so many formats that you can go about. Used a little app on my phone. I think it was called Drinks Helper, and it just kind of puts you with a random group of people that you don't really know who they are, but they're all kind of chat about stuff. And that was kind of a nice outlet that I used in the beginning. And then as a couple of weeks go by, and your body just starts to go through massive changes, and you're sleeping better, anxiety starts to go away, higher energy levels, increased confidence, production capacity. I mean, the list just goes on. Better sex. I mean, it reminds me of before you ever took a sip of alcohol when you were a child. Like, the world was this amazing place, and you get back to that pretty quickly, and it's kind of eye opening. So,
did something specific trigger it? Because you said for a number of reasons. And
I mean, if to be completely honest, I think that you're kind of blinded by who you are when you're drinking. And I was kind of at a point with a person that I was seeing that they basically told me that, this version of you is not the person that I want to be with. So yeah, that was a turning point for me.
how how did that hit you in the first reaction? Because
it hits you pretty hard, because it's just like you're really like staring at yourself and going, all right, well, here it is. Are we going to do this or not? And it's kind of a crossroad in your life. And then, I hope anybody makes the decision to give it up, I guess. And then, it doesn't have to be something, it can be less alcohol or whatever it is that's causing this issue in your life. I don't think that you have to go, I'm never going to have a drink again, or I'm going to fail or something. But, taking a step back is the first key step. So I think that, a good long break helps a lot and let your brain reset. And then if you think you can dabble with it again, you could try that. For me personally, I've gone back and forth a couple times. I mean, this has been about a 2-year process for me. And, I'm not like 1000% never had a drink, but, I found myself trying it again here and there, and it just doesn't have the same glow for me anymore. It's not that exciting.
is that because you perceive it as this negative thing now that you didn't before? So like every time you think about it, it's just you're worried that you might slip, or you're worried that it's hurting you, like it's not really adding anything to your life. So you kind of look at it that way, or or is it just it's just not the same anymore? Period.
It's it never really was that great when you really look back at it. I think most of the times when you're thinking, "Oh, I had such a great time," it's usually like it's the people around you or the thing that you were actually doing that was the fun activity, not the alcohol that's added to the situation. So I guess I've been recently. I want to talk about this book by Annie Grace. It's called "Alcohol: Find Freedom, Discover Happiness, and Change Your Life." So that's something that I recently discovered. And full disclosure, I haven't even finished the whole thing, but it just lays out the facts. If anybody's ever considering cutting back or quitting altogether, I highly recommend this book. It just takes a real, I guess, scientific perspective and just goes, this is what alcohol is. Here's the facts behind it. And like, you decide for yourself if you want to drink. And it's honestly like, I'm kind of turned off by alcohol now.
And the positive things, like you were saying, like your anxiety goes down and your confidence goes up, and a couple other benefits. Do you attribute that to just the fact that there isn't that drug, that substance, that poison, that whatever you want to call it, that isn't in your system? Or is there like a mental thing too, where because you're doing something that you want to do, which means because you're not drinking, and you're not drinking because it's your choice, you have more control over your decisions. So that starts to build confidence in yourself because you're not falling into habits. You're controlling your actions and your decisions on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of society kind of, introverts it's hard, I don't really know how to coin this, but a lot of people who do turn to alcohol do so because they are kind of introverts, and it allows them to like get out there and step outside their box when
Loosen up a
it's
bit.
okay. Yeah, it's okay to be an introvert actually. And like half the stuff that people say when they're intoxicated probably doesn't even need to be said anyways. You know what I mean? Nobody's like, if you think about that guy who's a little tipsy somewhere, like at a bar or in a scene, nobody, if you're sober and you look at that person, I don't think anybody looks at him and is envious and goes, man, I wish I was that guy right now. Or, he's really killing it right now. It's just not the way it works.
Right. So yeah, I guess, okay, let's, and listen, this isn't something I talk about every day either. So we're figuring out as we're going on this one. So this episode might be a little foreign feeling as we're listening back to it. But do you think a lot of people use it like a crutch, the way you just said? Like they're shy, they're introverted, so they're going out, or they want to hang out with people, or they want to party, so they got to get a couple drinks in, and that's kind of what helps them loosen up and do the things that they want to do?
Speak from my own experience, and I think that's kind of the way I was doing it. It's everywhere. So if you go out to see a group of friends or going out to dinner, alcohol just surrounds our culture, from Super Bowl ads. It is everywhere from a young age. As a kid, you see your parents having some responsible wine cocktails and stuff, so you look up to them. And I can't think of a more prevalent substance in our society, whereas you look at something like cigarettes and they're totally shunned now. And they were kind of having their own heyday at one point, where people were smoking and saying it was making claims that it was healthy. And I've heard people say that to me too before, about how alcohol is healthy in small doses, and there's not much evidence to support that one.
Would you consider that you were in a home that was consuming a lot of alcohol? Like, did that influence you, or was it more your friends, or was it something else that drove you down that path?
I kind of, I'd say it kind of started up in like high school and seemed like this cool escape where, people there was a whole crowd of people drinking. And then we just took that right into college. And college was, I think it's a different place this day and age, but for us, it was, that Animal House mentality
Yeah.
almost because it was,
Kegs and funnels and
yep, all
yeah,
that stuff.
and all kinds of
UNH.
shots. Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
that's the college or university life for a lot of people, or at least it was. I don't know now. I'm a few years removed from that, but that's what it was then. So that's definitely instilled in the culture. When you look at movies, when you look at TV, and you listen to music, like it's present in all facets of life. So it's very easy to be influenced by it, and it's very heavily marketed to people as well. So it's made to be. It's just part of society. This is what we do. People drink. It's a normal thing. But what were some of you kind of went quickly in the beginning of like the things you were seeing, like, it's getting a little harder to wake up in the morning. Maybe you're not as productive, but like, what were some of the things that you were noticing on the professional side specifically that made you start to maybe second guess your decisions, or was it really just the relationship side that opened your eyes?
I think it's hard to take your business to the next level and like be a financially I couldn't quite get to that. I wasn't um I guess coherent enough, and I didn't have enough time in my day to take everything seriously. I didn't think that I could build a business and take the steps basically that I wanted to, because I wasn't really seeing clearly, I don't think. And it was, my mind was in other places. So once I cut that out, I started to, believe in myself more, and things just immediately doubled up basically. I feel like I was getting, I keep using this term production and production capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So production capacity is basically your ability to, you have to, it's kind of sacred. You got to make sure that you can continue in this stuff. So you got to take care of yourself, or else you're not going to get any production done.
Mm-hmm.
So my production capacity, I feel like, doubled up after subtracting this one thing from my life. So, instead of being up at 7, I'm up at 5:30. Every day I go to bed at 10. I don't feel like I'm missing out on things. I'm not doing things that I don't want to do anymore. I don't feel the need to go meet up with the gang that's out drinking at a bar. I'm 37, 38 years old now, and I'm not saying that's old, but you just don't need to be a part of that scene. And you don't have to let it like control your life.
This episode is brought to you by Hardscaper.com. The Hardscaper mission is to empower industry professionals with the skills, inspiration, and confidence they need to take their businesses to new heights. Struggling with training programs for your team? Looking for helpful tips to build a better company? Subscribe today to gain access to hours of interactive on-demand hardscape construction and business courses for free. Check out hardscaper.com.
When you're talking about that production capacity, is it really just the cutting alcohol that did it, or were there other lifestyle changes that you made?
I gotta, once you cut alcohol out,
Yeah.
those other lifestyles, the healthy living stuff, is just going to come automatically. You'll find yourself wanting to do a lot of the things that you might have thought you didn't have time to do,
Like what?
because you're grabbing a drink at 5 o'clock. When you're not doing that, you might pick up, a mountain bike, go to the gym. I go to yoga, all this nice outdoor activities that make you stronger, healthier, mentally more sound. You find yourself doing those things again. You might have a little more time to you're spending some quality time with people
Mm-hmm.
instead of just,
numbing time.
Out with the boys and numbing, because that's what
Yeah.
alcohol does, is it numbs.
Yeah, 100%. Was
I
it
mean, I
that it
don't.
was problematic to the point where like you're like getting hammered every night, or it's just 2, 3, 4, 5 a night, and it's just enough to get a solid buzz going, but you're not doing anything when you get home. You're home, you're
It,
crashing, and that's it.
it
Is
was a
that
good mix. It was a good mix of that stuff. I mean, one of the hardest things to do is like admit that, you had a problem. You had a problem, or I had a problem. And sure, looking back, I had a problem and I had to address it. So coming to that realization is not easy. And I came to that. So, and I hope a lot of other people that might be struggling can take a look at themselves.
And did you realize, like, I'm curious because, like, full disclosure, I decided to stop drinking a few months ago too. And I don't know if it was, I know it wasn't something that was necessarily affecting my work, but it was definitely something that was being used to kind of numb some things.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't necessarily need to do that. And I think it's not that it was a problem. I just made the decision, you know what, I'm going to try this out for a bit and just kind of see what this is like instead. And I think you realize that, kind of like you said, it occupies space in your life that you don't need it to. Like you can occupy that space with things that are a lot more productive, a lot more rewarding, a lot healthier for you. And it doesn't mean that you have to make these changes because you hit a wall, or you have to make these changes because you fell, or because, you made a terrible mistake. You can just decide to make these changes because you want to see if it's a better version of yourself that comes out of it. And that's an option too. And I think that's part of the stigma around it too, is like people don't want to talk about it because they're like, well, I don't have a problem. Like I'm in control of this. Like I decide when I drink. Right. It's not like I wake up and like, oh, I have to have a shot to start my day. Otherwise I can't function. Like that's not what we're talking about here.
I mean, even to this deep into this conversation, I can still like feel the stigma about this topic. And it makes it's bizarre that more people it's not talked about more often, because if I lit up a cigarette right now, people would have something to say, right? You know what I mean?
It'd be dramatic with the painting.
Oh man.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing to at least pay attention to. How often? It's like, when you go to the doctor, they ask you like, how many drinks do you have in a week?
I hate that question. But I love it now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why did you hate that question then? Because the number was high.
Yeah, I didn't want to. Oh yeah, it was high. It was high.
So what would you say? Like now we're talking about this and we're kind of sharing a similar opinion, but what would you say if you were talking to someone else, or like you run your business with a business partner, right?
Yes, Bailey.
So what's his position on this? Did he do the same thing? Was he partying just as hard as you, or did he kind of hit the same point? What?
No, he did not. He's one of those guys. He's like he's a smart kid. I'd say he was more in control, but he was probably watching from a position. He's pretty happy that I made this decision. And my other guy, Spencer, too. I don't want to say we're like a sober crew, but we're not out at the bar. We don't get beers together after work, and but we still have a ton of fun together, and do fun activities outside of work. But you just like we're not doing that. That scene's over for us. So I don't know. A lot of people have a knee jerk reaction to when you start making this choice for yourself. And usually that means they're struggling to take themselves seriously, I think, and ask themselves these hard to ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you definitely have to have some tough moments of introspection to kind come to these conclusions to make any decision really. But
I mean, it goes hand in hand with the industry if you think about it.
yeah,
It's anywhere where there's high stress and a daily grind that you're looking for that quick fix of escapism or relaxation, when in fact you're just kind of like buying some time, and you're not getting any escape from alcohol, and you're not getting any relaxation from it. It's quite the opposite.
Yeah, your problems don't go away. Your stress doesn't go away. You just forget about it for a while. You still have to deal with it in the morning or the next day or the day after or a week later. Like whenever, it's not fixing itself. And it's true. Like your body is not resting. It's not recovering. So you're wearing yourself down further. Like the downtime, we work hard enough during the day, then the day is done, and then you're grinding the inside instead of the outside now. So like it's something to pay attention to. What about the impact? Like you said, like, okay, like you still hang out, you do fun activities and stuff, but like how would you view it? Let's say you had a bigger team. Like I know you're growing your business now. So like, let's fast forward 5 years. You've got 4 or 5 crews running.
Yeah.
And you want to do team building activities. You want to do like end of the week stuff. You want to do like you have a shop in a yard and you want to get the guys together. Like, how do you see yourself handling those situations?
I mean, I can be around alcohol, and like if people want to enjoy it responsibly, totally cool with that. I mean, end of the day, am I gonna have a glass of wine or a beer again in my life? Probably. So it's just more about when it starts to be abused, that would be a problem. So like if there's a guy who's habitually showing up late, it's pretty obvious that it's an alcohol problem, I'd probably have this conversation with him and say, look, man, like if you need help, like let's figure out a way to get you help, because not only is this affecting our professional relationship, but it's affecting you on a personal level. So that's the most important thing for me. And then if it was they didn't want to find help, then I guess we'd have to sever ties eventually.
Have you had to face those situations before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did it end up going?
We kind of went our own ways, and now we're working together again, and this particular individual is taking the steps that he needs to take to better his life.
Yeah, well, that's good. I think it's good also to address that head on. In the first episode of the season, I was running down the Hardscaper High Five, and one of the things was taking care of your people. And sometimes taking care of your people means being kind, not nice. And being kind means like acting in their best interest, like having their back. And that doesn't necessarily mean like you defend them irrationally. It means you genuinely care about them and their well-being and their success. And if you see like, I don't like the path you're going down, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to address it. And that's what you did. I think that's really important. And whether that's with yourself or whether that's with someone else on your team or someone that you know or you care about, I think it's important. And it's one of the things that is really, I think that's one of the toughest things to do.
It's hard love.
That's it. It forces you to have a really uncomfortable, really awkward conversation. But you know what? Nobody grows unless they're put in those uncomfortable situations. If you stay in your comfort zone, then you're stagnant. And if you're stagnant, well, then you're not really advancing anything.
No. Alcohol keeps kind of stagnant.
Yeah. It's like floating around in a pond.
Yep. Stunts growth.
Yeah. It's fun for a while, but if you live there, then you're not going to see the world and you're not going to experience anything new. Anything else you want to? Yeah. Anything else you want to add on this subject, or any advice that you want to give, or just any tips that you want to share that could be helpful for someone who's listening to this and being like, you know what, maybe these guys have a point. Maybe I should look at myself in the mirror here?
I mean, I think we kind of touched on a lot of it, but it all comes down to like it's okay. We're all human, and it's okay to to face this thing, and like it is okay to look at yourself in the mirror, and it's okay to talk about this type of stuff. And like it would be nice to see an overall kind of change in society, honestly, and one that's a little bit drier and that doesn't put this type of behavior up on like a pedestal where you see that drunken behavior, and it's just there's another way.
Yeah,
there's another way to be. It's not that macho, it's not that bravado, it's not that cool.
Yeah, and it's okay. Like you said, it's okay to talk about it. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's just, everyone's going through something.
Oh yeah, life's fun without it.
Yeah.
We're having a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, I guess we kind of covered the topic. This wasn't really like an action plan kind of episode. This is just kind of sharing a story and sharing some experiences to kind of hopefully give a different perspective to the lives that we're all leading as we're trying to do great things, running our businesses and building them up and dealing with all the stresses and stuff that comes with that. Sometimes we find ways to cope that are not the healthiest, and you don't realize it until it's too late. So hopefully this is before it's too late. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for this episode.
Love it. Well, it was really fun being on here. I mean, that was a good time. We winged it pretty good.
Chad, if someone wants to reach out to you, they want to either they want to ask you some questions, or they want to share their story, or they just want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, I'd love that. I'm pretty responsive on Instagram, Spruce Creek Landscapes. Check us out. We have fun on there. Post a lot of video content, stories, trying to embrace that social media growth opportunity there. It's probably the best way. Shoot me an email if you want, sprucecreeklandscaping.com. That's our website. Check it out.
And then the email address is going to be found on the website there on the contact us, I guess. Cool.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, Chad, thank you very much for reaching out when you did on Instagram, and glad that we finally were able to put this episode together. I really appreciate you opening up and really just, saying what's on your mind. Now that's really cool. So thank you. And until next time, everyone, work hard, pave harder. We'll see you next week on the Hardscape Growth Show.
You've been listening to Hardscape Growth, a podcast for hungry professionals who want to grow their businesses and level up. Each episode is all about taking the next step in running your business, so make sure you never miss a show by subscribing on your favorite podcast player. And if you're finding this information to be useful, help others in your position discover us by giving us a star rating and leaving a comment. We'll see you next week.